Hello and welcome to this Facebook Live where I'm going to be talking about 7 things GCSE and A-level students get wrong about revision. My name is Lucy Parsons and I'm an academic coach and founder of Life More Extraordinary Academic Coaching. Welcome to today's video. So, I've been 7 years now and I was a teacher before that, and there are some really common things that I see students doing wrong year after year after year, and I'm going to talk about 7 of them today. If you're watching live, please say hello in the chat, and if you're watching later, you can say hello too. I'd love to hear from you. And as we go along, I'll let you know. Let me know in the comments if you think your child is making these mistakes. So, the first thing that I see people doing wrong is making a revision plan that is doomed to fail. So, what does a revision plan look like that is doomed to fail? Well, it's a revision plan that is planned out for too long and is way too specific. And this is just the most common way of people planning revision, but it's doomed to fail because students don't really have a good grasp of how long each topic is going to take to revise. It all goes. And basically that means it all goes wrong because every single topic, you might run over and then you don't get to the next revision slot, which means the whole plan feels like it's a house of cards falling down, and that young person is left feeling like a failure when they're not actually a failure. It's their revision plan that's a failure. And it's really sad to see this, and there are much, much better ways to plan revision than this that actually support a young person and their goals rather than actually making them feel like failures. If you think your child might be making this specific revision mistake, put a number 1 in the comments under the video. Okay, the second common revision mistake I see students making is that they think that revision is a passive activity. And this is really linked as well to a lot of students' attitude to education in general. Like basically they just turn up, wait for knowledge to be imparted, wait for homework to be set, kind of do the homework, but they don't really engage with it properly. And this means that they're just being really passive about it. And when it comes to revision, they just kind of look at their revision. They expect somehow by osmosis to this knowledge to get into their heads. And learning just doesn't work like that. Like, learning is an active activity. It's a thing that you really have to engage with and be in the driving seat for. You have to try and be willing to fail and try again and all this kind of thing. I often use the analogy of a baby learning to walk when I talk about what learning really is. And a baby, when they're learning to walk, they are totally in the driving seat of their own learning. They're constantly trying things out, failing, trying again. They may not be consciously analysing it, but there's something going on that is helping them to work out what's working and what isn't working. And this really results in the baby learning in a really effective way, so they eventually become a confident walker. And it's all because they have taken that really active role in their learning. And revision needs to be similar. So it's not about lying on the bed with a highlighter, listening to music and waiting for Instagram to ping you a notification. It's about really getting stuck into that revision. If you think your child is making that mistake of being too passive with their revision, give me a number 2 in the comments under this video. Okay, the third thing that students get wrong about revision is that they think revision is boring. Now, if anybody thinks that any kind of learning is boring, they're doing it wrong because learning isn't boring when it's done properly. When you're revising, you're basically trying to achieve mastery of your knowledge, understanding, and your ability to communicate what you know to the examiner. And if you're using active revision techniques, you will be engaged in the work that you are doing and you will not be bored. So this is very much linked to the previous point about thinking that revision is a passive activity. But if you're finding it boring, you're basically doing revision wrong. So if you think your child is finding revision boring, or they think that revision is boring, put a number 3 in the chat for me. Okay, the fourth mistake that I'd like to highlight that students make with revision is that they don't take responsibility for their learning and outcomes. Now, again, this is very much linked to the 2 previous points, the passivity of revision and finding revision boring. But when I was at school, I had this occasion where I had to take module exams for my science GCSE that actually counted towards my results. So we took these exams all the way through the 2 years, and every one of them was a small percentage contribution towards the final result. And for one of these tests, I did absolutely appallingly. We had a young biology teacher who knew nothing about physics and taught us really, really badly. I was entered for the foundation paper. It was the only time I was ever entered for the foundation paper, and I got a really low mark on the foundation paper. And this experience really woke me up to the fact that I could not rely on anybody else, whether that was a teacher or a parent or anybody else, to make the exam results happen that I wanted. So it really didn't matter that I had a bad teacher. I wasn't going to get an asterisk next to my grade saying, Lucy had a bad teacher for this subject, so please excuse this low grade. And nobody else gets that either. So it's absolutely crucial for all young people to realise that ultimately their grades are their responsibility. Nobody else's name is going to be beside their grades, and it's them that walks into the exam room and has to do their best work. So this is such an important realisation, and no matter what help or support young people get with their studies, basically it's all wasted until they start to take responsibility, or they're willing to take responsibility if somebody shows them how. So if you think your child isn't fully taking responsibility for their results at the moment, give me a number 4 in the comments. Okay, the next thing that students get wrong about their revision is encouraging distractions into their lives. Now, this often happens because they find revision boring. So they will leave their phone next to them because they actively want to be distracted. They will let YouTube roll on to the next video, whether it's connected with the revision video that they've just watched or not. They will welcome their younger brother or sister coming in and bothering them or distracting them. You know, all of these things, they actually welcome and encourage distractions into their lives. And it's a form of kind of self-sabotage, but it's largely connected with the fact that they haven't yet taken responsibility and that they're finding revision boring because they're taking that kind of passive approach. So if you think your child is still willfully allowing distractions into their revision and into their studies, please put a number 5 in the comments. Okay, the 6th thing that students get wrong about revision is using breaks in the wrong way. So has anybody ever heard of the Couch to 5K running training program? If you have, just put a yes in the comments, and if you've done it, just let me know that you've done Couch to 5K. Well, if you haven't done it, Couch to 5K takes you from somebody who just sits around on the sofa all day to somebody who can actually run 5K without stopping. And the way they do this isn't by sending you out to run 5,000 metres all in one go on the first day. Instead, they make you run for maybe 30 seconds and then walk for maybe a minute and a half, and then run for 30 seconds and walk for a minute and a half. And this builds up over time. So you end up running for more of the time and walking for less of the time until you can actually run all of the way. This is called interval training, and revision breaks should be used in the way that the walking intervals are used in the Couch to 5K, i.e. there are times when you ease off, take a break before going back in to focus and do your best work, which is the equivalent of running the best that you can. So revision should be about a burst of focused energy or focused attention, and then a short break where you rest your brain and give it the space to recover so that it's then ready for another burst of activity. Now, many students don't understand this and confuse actually being tired and their brain being saturated for being bored. So students really need to learn to tune in and understand those signals better. I was actually talking to a student last night about this on one of our coaching calls in the Extraordinaries Club, and he was like, aha, that's what's going wrong. I just need to strategically time my breaks so that I can do more over the day or the evening or whenever it is that he was revising, rather than getting 30 minutes in, getting tired, getting bored, and thinking that's all he could do for that day. So if you think your child is using breaks in the wrong way in their revision, put a number 6 in the comments below. Okay, the last thing I want to share with you today about what students routinely get wrong with revision is failing to recognise the importance of repetition in learning. Now, I've already talked about that analogy of a baby learning to walk, and they keep doing the same thing and tweaking it and improving it until they can walk efficiently and thoroughly, and they don't no longer have to think about it. Well, revision is basically the same thing. It is about repetition. I cannot tell you how many times I've come across a student who has made a flashcard or made a few flashcards, put them away and said, flashcards don't work for me. Well, they're not going to work for you if you never look at them, if you never test yourself on them, and all that kind of thing. Revision is not a once and done activity. It's about repetition, it's about layering, it's about constant improvement. And unless your child recognises that, they're not going to get on very well with their revision. So if you think your child has failed to recognise the importance of repetition in their revision, give me a number 7 in the comments below. Okay, so I hope that's been helpful. I'd love to know which of the mistakes that your child is making. And if you think your child needs some more help with their revision, I'd love to encourage you to download the free chapter of my book where I talk about more about how to make an efficient revision plan. You can find this free chapter of my book at lifemoreextraordinary.com/free chapter. You'll find the link to that in the description for this video. I really hope that this live broadcast has helped you today, and if you've got any questions or comments about it at all, please pop them in the comments. Thank you so much for watching. Have a wonderful day and goodbye.